Hey, everybody. Welcome to What Drives Us, episode 261 for January 24th, 2018. I am your host this week. My name is Russell Frost. It is my pleasure to be here and my privilege to not be alone. Although, who knows? Maybe I can bum these guys out and they'll leave. But hopefully for our sakes, both you, the viewers and listeners out there, and mine, I won't do that. I'm going to try my best to behave. So let me introduce them. Oh, look, we have an avatar that doesn't have a face. Nope. Someone got logged off and is coming back on. So I'll start by introducing our man in Canada. He has not 1 but 2 volts, and he's only used 1 tank of gas. You do the math. His name is Mark Coughlin.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the show. Got some interesting tidbits of information, and I've stalled long enough because Paul is back.
Yay! I have to stall until Paul is back. I mean, this is your fault, Mark, I never really plug like, WR Voltec or anything.
Oh, we'll do that at the end. Don't worry about it.
But I mean, you are a man of achievement, So speaking of men of achievement, next to him, God knows why he's an Arkansas fan. Oh, wait. Yes, I do know why. And he has a couple of Teslas in the driveway, although he's only allowed to drive one of them. Yes. I like to call him Dr. Evan Fusco.
Hey, everybody. Glad to be back. Had a nice week up near Paul's territory last week. But didn't quite make it down to Boulder, but had a great week in Colorado. But good to be back and have some nice discussion today.
I'm sorry, did you say nice discussion?
Civil discussion.
My
entertaining discussion.
Entertaining. There we go. Well, speaking of entertaining, he is the founder of Boulder Hybrids in Boulder, Colorado. He is our technical expert, and he's a man of a million beers. I call him.
Well, actually, this week there's no beer in the fridge, so I'm drinking Izzy soda instead. So it may not be as fun a show, but.
7 years into this, and you can still surprise me, Paul. Thank you. Thank you so much. Wow. I don't even know what to say. Other than Paul's drinking soda. Okay, why not? Hey, you know what? We can do this. We can do this. And to prove we can do this, let's start off the news this week with Mark.
Yeah, that's just this past yesterday. Our group here at the Waterloo Region Voltec and, of course, the Waterloo Region EV Association, we had a meeting at Communitech in downtown Kitchener. Had about 35 people out. And we had a main speaker who talked to us about condos and charging and how they either work or don't work together. So as you know, if you have an electric vehicle, you want to charge your vehicle up while you're sleeping. And the best way to do that is obviously in your own parking spot, driveway or whatever. But a number of people, of course, live in high-rise condos where there's an issue. Sometimes they're not assigned a spot. Sometimes those spots are maybe assigned, but they're not accessible to electricity. So we had... Carrie and AJ Mueller, who are local Waterloo residents and live in a high-rise here in Waterloo, Ontario. They were able to explain how they retrofitted their condo to receive plug-in charging spots for, get this, 20% of the available spots. So this isn't, I believe it's a 12 or 14 story building. And I've got a picture of it here.
A picture.
Yeah.
There you go. How's that?
There you go. Nice. So we've got a single tower, which is, there'll be a double tower built later this year. But this particular tower didn't come with any charging in it. And Carrie and AJ wanted to purchase a Tesla. So they went to the condo board, discussed what the building charge had, what they could use extra, and if it would be possible to do so. And they sat down with the condo board, the head electrician who built the location, and also at the local utility. And they went through the facts and figures and determined that, yes, they could, there was extra power to the building. It was, there was a lot extra actually, and they would be able to use that for car charging. And the interesting fact here is that, of course, the condo board was saying, well, not everybody wants this, obviously. How are we going to charge for it? And it was determined that the best way, or the quickest way for this to actually happen, was AJ and Carrie fronted the money and had the infrastructure put in, and they took all the risk themselves. They put the charging on 3 floors, and there was a total of 32 spots or allocations, and it was all roughed in. And then they allowed people to opt in as to whether or not they wanted anything beyond the rough in to the spots. For, you know, obviously there was allocation to buy the spot or buy the spot with the rough in, and then you could actually have the electrical service placed there, and then obviously you could buy your own charger and plug it in. So they took it upon themselves to finance this, and they talked at our meeting about how the legal hurdles they had to jump through, and the different condo board acts that they had to comply with, and with this retrofit. And ultimately, they were able to make it happen. And the amazing thing is that you were thinking, you know, 20% of parking, that's quite a bit. You know, that would be a lot of EVs. 32 spaces worth in this building. But in under a year, they have 75% of those spaces have been allocated.
Wow.
That's
and
great.
Now they're only left with a handful waiting for them to fill. And the majority of people are people that actually don't own an EV at this point. So that's the surprising thing. They did such a great sell job that people that are in the condo were saying, you know what, there's only going to be 32 spaces. I'm thinking I might want an electric car at some point. I better grab one of those spots now. And or the other fraction of people would be people that would say, well, that is an asset to my particular condo, and if I was to sell, I maybe would get a higher premium based on having that ability to do this, where others will not. And then, of course, there is the group of them, I believe there's 7 of them that have EVs already and happily bought the spots so they could plug in their cars overnight.
And what did they charge for those spots, do you know?
They did it at cost, and depending on how far you were from the main hookup on the floor, it was somewhere between a $4,000 and $5,000 charge.
Huh.
And again, this building did not have any electrical set up for this. This was a retrofit, and they were able to have it mapped out and understood at the beginning what the cost would be, and were able to stick to that budget, which was fantastic. They've done a great service, obviously, for the building itself and for tenants in it. But it was what was really interesting from their talk that I took away was this ability that the lots or the allocation sold a lot quicker than they ever expected. They thought that it would take much longer, if not a few years, for them to sell these extra allocations. But in under a year, 75% of them are already gone, and they're only left with the 25% remaining allocation, which is shocking. But it's interesting to see that this type of uptake was available from the population. It's not like, you know, Waterloo is the center of EVs here in Ontario, but man, if you build it, apparently they will come.
Yeah.
Well, that's also a great benefit for the building because, you know, some buildings have a swimming pool or a barbecue pit or whatever. This building can now say we're EV friendly, and attract, a different class of buyer.
Correct.
So,
Correct.
So everybody wins who's living in that building, especially since the non-EV people didn't have to pay, because their values have probably gone up as well.
Right. So even, those people didn't have to pay a dime, and yet they've, that ability is in the building.
Right. That's great.
So we had a fantastic meeting, and it was great to hear about this new ability. Well, obviously they did incur a big expense and a risk. They didn't know what would happen. They had obviously had an idea about the 7 or 6 people that already had an EV were going to go along with the plan, but they certainly didn't believe that some of the empty spaces would be sold and just held because people thought that it would be a plus to them in the future, or for the value of their own, for their resale.
Quite an involved project too, really, to do that. All the hoops to jump through to get that through the board, and
city permits,
figure out and how to allocate all that. Back in my mind, I wonder if they're interested in doing a consulting business for other HOAs and condo groups. They've already figured out how to jump through a lot of those hoops. And
and that's that's part of the outreach that they did with our group. They're being prompted by others around the region, and the article that we put a link to in the show, you can certainly reach out to them if you have some questions about condos. They were certainly quite happy to talk to our group. And if you have some interest, you may be able to get some answers from them yourself.
Brilliant.
Cool. And there's also legislation in certain areas, like in Colorado, it's against the state law for an HOA or condo association to say, oh no, you can't plug in your electric car on our property. They can say you have to pay the fees to run the power and get a sub-meter and blah blah blah. But they can't deny you. It would be like denying a person with a service dog their animal in a no pets building. Right. So depending where you live, a lot of people aren't even aware of the laws that are in the residents' favor.
Right.
But you still have to sell the HOA board or the condo group on why it's a good thing.
Right.
And it looks like these guys have done a win-win for everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. So it was a kind of a good news story, and I wanted to share it with people out there with EVs and condos, because typically we hear they don't mix, and there's real issues. You hear the horror story of someone buying an EV and then trying to figure out how they can charge it. Whereas these people took the bull by the horns and said, let's figure out the charging spot first, and then we'll go out and buy the EV.
Yeah, outstanding, great story.
And at some point, those EV spots could be the hot spots. You know what I mean? Like that.
That's right.
Yeah, I mean, the
more and more money.
Right.
Think about it. 10 years from now, when EVs are more prevalent, that building is going to be so much more desirable than the ones next door to it that don't have that capability.
Absolutely. Yeah. When you buy a house down on the lake, if you don't get a boat slip with your house, it's much harder to sell that later on. And it dramatically increases your house value when they're not building any more boat slips. And similar kind of thing, man. That's why those other people are buying them. It's resale value of that condo when it comes time is going to be significantly higher to the right buyer. And they'll probably get much more than their initial investment back on that.
Cool. So now that we've had a feel good story, Russell, you want to give us your feel bad story?
Yeah, you know what? I'm not going to go there. So, undoubtedly, unless you live under a rock, which maybe you do. I mean, you watch this show, maybe you live under a rock, and there's nothing wrong with that because you watch this show. So thank you. You might have heard that the Trump administration had passed or put into law, who knows, maybe they just wrote on the back of a napkin and stuck it to a door, a 30% tariff on solar. This is a 4-year program that decreases by 5% each year. until it goes away for the next 4 years. And the idea, as presented by the Trump administration, is that foreign powers are undercutting American manufacturers on solar panels, and this just levels the playing field. So I'm going to offer a couple of opinions on that, and then I'm going to see what my friends here on the panel have to say. Number one, there's not a lot of solar manufacturing currently in the United States. We're talking on the order of a couple of thousand jobs and a handful of factories. Would there be more with this tariff? Does that make that more competitive? Possibly, but because of the temporary nature of the tariff and because of the amount of money that it takes to build a factory from scratch starting today, it's probably not going to be super attractive for other companies to get into this. It would be great if they did. But again, probably not going to help that much. What it's going to do, in my opinion, is it's a smack in the head to solar companies in the United States. It's going to raise their prices to an extent. It's going to make some companies more competitive than others. Arguably, this administration is very, very fossil fuel friendly. So the gift of being able to do something like this in the name of protectionism that actually does more to stunt the growth of solar energy in the United States is really the hallmark of this administration, sort of like appointing imbeciles who don't think a certain agency should even be in existence to run that agency and then proceed to run it into the ground, which we've seen time and time again. That's probably as political as I'm going to get right now. Gentlemen?
Yeah. I mean, you're right on. If the true intent of this was to spur growth of the solar industry in the U.S., there are better ways to do that, right? Yes. And you announce that there will be a gradually increasing tariff on solar panel production over the next 10 years, and you encourage growth in solar in another way, and then you let the companies develop and start producing solar panels in a cost-effective, high volume way, and gradually phase out the imports of the cheaper Chinese and whatever products. But you're right. That's not what this is intended to do. This is a bone thrown to the fossil fuel industry. It is mindlessly done. That will clearly cost solar jobs in the U.S. There are a few companies. The company that installed my solar on my lake house has been on several of the local news channels. They actually buy their solar panels from a middleman company in Canada. So they won't have to pay the tariff, apparently, the way that other companies that import directly do, and so are going to be able to remain competitive and actually potentially reduce their costs. So because of the contracts that they have set up, they're going to do extremely well under this. But he's the owner or the CEO is a friend of mine, has already said that he's not happy about this because it stunts the growth of solar across the country in general by imposing this in such a meat-headed way, and it's really frustrating. And I'm also disappointed that you didn't mention the washing machine tariff, which I'm pretty torn up about.
Well, but that's a good point, because the washing machine tariff I can sort of understand, because it does allow some U.S. manufacturers to compete, but when you buy a washing machine, it doesn't create a ton of man hours of labor. Maybe an hour or two to install it. But when you buy solar panels, you need engineers to design it. You need installers on the roof. You need electricians. It creates thousands of jobs, the solar industry, in the ground in the U.S., employing Americans. And by limiting the supply of cheap panels, Trump has just basically fired 20,000 workers, or who knows, but it's a huge number.
Right.
It's certainly way more installers and engineers will be affected than potential manufacturing jobs making the panels. And as Russell said, no one's going to build a factory with a sunset in 3 or 4 years of competitiveness. So.
Yeah. There's only a couple of thousand people employed in manufacturing solar cells in the United States. There are more than 250,000, 260 some odd thousand people involved in the solar industry in the United States.
Yep.
And the immediate
consultants,
prediction is that this is going to,
installers.
it's immediately going to lose about 25,000 jobs.
So yeah, it was only done to make big oil happy.
Yeah, absolutely. And natural gas, especially natural gas, because this hurts the price competitiveness of solar and makes natural gas that much more exciting. Yay, natural gas!
And since I'm sitting in Canada, I'm not going to comment at all on this story. I'm just going to lay low and hope
You're going to go buy your panels from that Canadian reseller,
and hope that Donald Trump does not remember about Canada at all. So.
You might be able to start smuggling solar panels and
mix it in with those pharmaceuticals.
Yeah, right.
Exactly. So I'm going to set up a distribution system down near Windsor, Ontario, and Evan can meet me in Detroit, and we'll be smuggling solar panels across the river.
Yeah. That's all I got, kids. Let's go back to a happy story. Mark has something about some exciting Leaf news.
Yes, it's Leaf Week here on the show. It was just announced that the new Nissan Leaf 2018 configurator has been launched on the U.S. site. So you can now go in and configure what options you want with your Leaf and put it together, and the pricing is all set and ready to go. So you can see that the basic levels, the S, the SV, and the SL are lined up at $29,900, $32,490, and $36,200, respectively. And it's a great little site that you can click around and change the color and see the inside and understand what you're going to be getting with your Leaf, as well as its capacity. And I think these guys are going to sell a ton of these cars. I think there's going to be a huge run on them. What's great is that they are being produced in Tennessee, so the plant already knows how to produce them. They know how to produce a large amount.
Don't bring this to the attention of the Trump administration. Okay? Don't tell them where the factory is. I'm sorry to interrupt.
The factory's in the Caribbean.
Thank you. Yes. Somewhere else.
What I'd just like to comment on their little printout here in the articles. They're marketing now 100% torque off the line as one of the features, which we all know, but the average consumer doesn't really get that, although they've heard about Tesla acceleration.
Right.
And then they do the charge comparison. They say regular charging, a 240 volt 1 hour charge gives you 22 miles of range, and then they say the fast charging port 30-minute charge gives you 88 miles of range. And that's something I haven't really seen in their marketing in the past. They're kind of making it more consumer friendly.
Right. Well, the other change with this vehicle too is that all levels of the car now come standard with a fast charger. That was not the case in the previous Leaf. Yeah. So that could be part of their reasoning there, is that, there's nothing to hide here anymore. Everyone gets the fast charger out of the gate, or the level 3, and it might be something because of that.
Yeah.
My nitpick is I wish they'd use the same nomenclature for the charging instead of voltage on one and kilowatts on the other. But
yeah. Well, I guess they can't really say 380 volts or whatever it is, because people.
I think the people that are going to be involved with this are coming probably from. This car is going to be sold to the masses as well. This is going to be a replacement for a regular car. Like I really think with the range, the 40, this one is coming with the 40 kilowatt battery. The 60 is coming down the pike probably next year, but this particular one will have the 40 kilowatt. The only downfall, and Patrick has mentioned this on our show previously, is that it is an air-cooled battery in this particular car. It's not liquid-cooled as a number of the other packs are. So we don't know. if it's going to be able to stand up to maybe the heat of Phoenix, or to multiple fast charges in a row if you're crossing the country. These are things that we don't know. We're not sure about how they're going to be handling it. But certainly, if you're within a region and this is your commute car, and you're able to get to work and back with its charge, it's going to be a great thing for you.
And they still come with a great warranty on the battery pack, so
they do
not a lot of risk.
Yeah,
and good advice for a lot of people is to lease a car like this for 2 or 3 years and then get whatever comes out then. And then there's very little future risk of what's going to happen 5 years from now.
Yeah, certainly with a lease, you're not taking any risk at all.
And a lot of the lease deals, they bundle in the federal, and if you're in a place with a state rebate, into the lease price, and it's it's very easy to lease one of these and get a great deal. So,
very good point.
Yep.
Absolutely, a cute little car. I can't wait to drive it. What do they have, like 13,000 pre-orders already? I think I heard.
Yeah, there's a bucket load of those, and they're doing very well in Europe, and they've done phenomenal in Japan. So, I
think the 150 miles is a good sweet spot, because 100 miles is a little short for some people, and like the Bolt with 230 is great, but you pay a big premium for that much range, and that raised the price. So this might work really well.
With the standard fast charging, has there been much discussion about expanding their charging infrastructure?
I'm sorry, what?
They do have a program. They do have a program, and it is connected to their dealers and some other dealers that you can charge up in a number of different cities across the U.S. And that network has been expanding over the past 2 years. So they're certainly not comparable to the supercharger network of Tesla, but it's a good start. It gives people the ability to do some charging in the larger centers and across the different areas of the U.S. Is it enough? Probably not, but they have been expanding, and at least they're on the path.
All right.
So just
in certain areas, there's like in the Denver Boulder area, there's a pretty decent number of CHAdeMO public charging stations that are not at Nissan dealers. Yeah. So they're being rolled out.
I mean, look at cheers to them for doing this, but the current dealer charging program is woefully inadequate, and I would love to see Nissan expand that. Inevitably, there's one charger and there's a dealer-owned Leaf stuck to it when you visit them.
Or a pickup truck blocking access to it.
So again, you know what? I mean, if they want to locate them at dealers, that's fine, but just do it right. Make sure they're open for people to use, and maybe 2. I mean, is 2 that crazy? Probably not. Not rolling out
and accessible outside of business hours, because a lot of times
not behind a gate.
You can only get to it when the dealership's open, and what if it's Sunday night and you need to charge your battery to get home? So
guys, Eric Stevens in the chat room says that the fast charging is still optional on the S version of the Leaf, and is about a $1,600 option.
Oh,
my mistake. I thought it was across the board. Maybe it's only the 2 middle versions then, or the middle and the upper version.
Yeah.
You're off the show, Coughlin.
Okay, please.
Thanks, Eric Stevens. I appreciate that.
No, wait.
We're going to hire him as a fact checker.
Eric is way cooler about that. Evan, do you remember the guy that called us and left us a Google Voice message that Linda should be kicked off the show because she didn't know something? Really tiny little technical point. It was like, how could you possibly? You know what I mean? Given the enormous salaries and the teams of researchers that we all employ,
the enormous salaries,
there may be some small factual inaccuracies from time to time. And Eric, thank you so much, because we count on you guys too. So, Sorry, didn't mean to jump in there. Mark, I've been interrupting you tonight. I'm so sorry.
Oh, I was basically done anyways. I'm off the show, so I'm going to be mute for the rest of the show.
Mark, for the first time in 2 years, is going to start drinking on the show tonight. Well, this is a nice little ranty topic, and I want to thank John Gruber of Daring Fireball for pointing this out, because I had not seen this. And yeah, this is a very interesting story. So, and I had a little back and forth with John, which was super helpful. So basically, Apple has this thing called CarPlay, just like Android has Android Auto, and some manufacturers license it from them. Google, there's no license charge for it, as I understand it. Apple has a licensing program through their MFI program, where they charge, quote unquote, a nominal fee. Now, neither Mr. Gruber or I were able to find out what the nominal fee is, but we do know that it is a one-time charge. And the only other thing that they're required, that a manufacturer who wants to be in the Apple CarPlay program has to buy an Apple authentication chip from them to put in the vehicle so that it recognizes and can interact with the phone. Okay. Thus far, manufacturers have not been using CarPlay or Android Auto as an add-on. Well, the geniuses at BMW have decided that this is the new revenue point for them. They're not only charging more for Apple CarPlay, they're charging a subscription fee for it. They will charge you $80 annually for every year you want to maintain CarPlay activity in your new BMW.
Unbelievable.
Again, I want to be clear. As to the best of my knowledge, Apple does not charge an annual fee. They charge a one-time fee to the manufacturer, and then the manufacturers have to buy these chips, which allegedly are not crazy expensive. And BMW is going to knock it for $80 a year.
Can I just have
Well, because you spend 60 grand on a car, why
not?
Let's squeeze you another $80 a year. What the heck?
Oh my
No.
gosh.
Man, that's horrible.
Unbelievable.
Here's
The only thing worse than that would be they're going to charge you $1 a song that you play through the system.
They better the hell update it regularly for that $80, not like the nav systems that they used to do on like DVD discs that were horrendously obsolete when they were produced.
There's another manufacturer that does this. Anybody want to guess? Not CarPlay, but has, shall we say, sort of adopted the subscription model, the in-app purchase model for their vehicles and vehicle features. Evan Fusco, I'm talking to you.
That's nothing like that.
You don't think it's anything like that?
No.
Okay.
This is a recurring fee for
The same thing the car had at the factory.
yeah.
Right. So here's the bigger topic is this, which is in-app purchasing, recurring subscriptions is a wonderful way to get people to pay for things over and over again, because people hate changing things. And once they're locked into something, once they're in the subscription, the vast majority of times, as companies who sell things know, people don't stop them. You don't even have to make getting out of the subscription difficult. Most people just keep on rolling with it. So this is another way for car companies potentially to make more money from you. Do you want your navigation to work? Send us $5 a month. Do you want your CarPlay to work? Send us $80 a year. Do you want to enhance your autopilot experience? Send us $3,000.
I don't agree with the Tesla connection because of the fact that car never had it until you paid for it.
The hardware's there, no?
The hardware is there, but the software is not there.
Right.
And again, it's the recurring nature of it, where it's continually milking you for the price. So if I bought a BMW and chose not to activate CarPlay when I got it, but then I got a new iPhone and decided I wanted it and wanted to pay the $300 to activate it, I think that's fair. I don't have any issue with that, knowing that it's in there and I didn't activate that. But to charge me $80 a year for the privilege of continuing to use it, that's built in, I don't know. I see that as a very different thing. I see I see your point, Russ. I do. I mean, I see what you're driving at, but I would be very pissed if Tesla continued to charge me an annual fee to use autopilot.
Or to use the radio in the car.
Right. Yeah.
I think we're going to see more of this. We're going to see car companies going, this is the way we can get an extra 150.
They're going to be like the airlines. You want a seat? Okay, that's extra.
If you pay us $80 a month, we'll allow you to open your trunk to put your suitcase in.
We can make fun of the silliness of it, but obviously there's lots of things that car companies could do, whether it's nav or other features, anything that they can control OTA could be subscription model. That's all. And it's a new way to make car consumers keep giving them money. And these recurring subscription models are super successful. You know, I mean, yeah.
How many people pay Netflix $11 a month and don't always watch Netflix every month?
Or forgot they're paying for it.
Yeah.
And it goes back farther than that. But yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's gym subscriptions, for God's sakes. How many people join a gym in January then don't think about it until next January? Like, I've been paying, it's only $10 a month. Okay. You give me $120 a year for absolutely nothing? Well, hell no. But they got that Planet Fitness tag on their keychain, so it's all good. I don't have a problem with that. You know what I mean? Like, somebody's paying $10 a year to go, I'm a member of a gym. Good for them. There's nothing wrong, you know, again, but it's sort of the idea that, like, maybe let's say you live in an apartment complex and the gym is in your building. You know what I mean? Like, oh, you got to pay $10 for that on top of the rent that you pay.
Yeah.
That's a whole different issue. Okay. I'm not too ranty about this. I just, you know, cheers to BMW for having balls the size of Bavaria. George, I mean, I don't even know what to say. You know, again, I think Evan said it. Did you say 60 grand for a BMW and now you want another $80 a year?
Yeah.
You know, I mean,
but maybe if you're a BMW customer, you don't care about $80 a year.
No, you don't. And that's the beauty of it. You wouldn't have given them what is that? $80 a year. Geez, $960. You know, you wouldn't give them another grand if they just asked for it. But if it was for something, you might.
You know, if it included like Apple Music or some, you know, added value feature,
right? I
could see it. But if I could connect the audio cable to the jack and do the same thing, essentially.
No, the audio cable and the jack, that's $60 a month.
Yeah, an extra charge.
Can I confess something about CarPlay? Does anybody here use CarPlay regularly?
I do.
You do. Okay, so I'll say my piece and then you can. Russell's crazy. So for years, a year or two on this show, I agitated for CarPlay. That companies should have it. Toyota's ridiculous for not having it. And now I've driven a whole wide range of cars with CarPlay. And I've used it in each one of those cars. And I want to tell you, CarPlay is a real mixed bag. It is not. It is wonderful on some things, and on other things, it is much less than wonderful. Which, shame on Apple. But I also... I can't figure out where the weak link is. I used to blame Toyota for Intune as being like the worst infotainment system. Shut down your phone and not have things work. And Bluetooth was hinky and all that. If you ever use CarPlay in a Volkswagen, you want to shoot yourself. I mean, it is literally a crapshoot whether or not you plug this thing in, the same damn thing every day. Literally every day. It's like, is it going to work today? I have no idea. Is it going to work before I get to my destination? Maybe not.
Maybe Volkswagen plan is to frustrate you and then say, hey, if you give us $80 a year, we'll make it reliable. And then you're like, here, take my money.
And again, I don't know if this is Volkswagen's problem or Apple's problem. I don't know who to blame.
Let's blame Volkswagen.
I don't know. We rented a GMC Yukon for our Colorado trip last week, and it had CarPlay in it. It was pretty hanky in that thing too.
Yeah,
other apps interfered with it and made it not. The phone would ring through the car, and you'd answer it, and it would pick up on the phone instead of through the car.
Yeah.
It was pretty wonky.
Yeah, that is true. There are some kinks in it, but I do find that if you stay within the architecture of CarPlay and you're not popping out of the CarPlay and using the apps that come with the car standard, I find that if you stay within the architecture of the actual CarPlay, that it seems to work out a little better. So, what I really like about my CarPlay is that once it is plugged in and it's made the connection to the phone, the text message thing is very useful. That if I get a text while I'm driving, it will alert me. And I don't have to deal with it, or I could just press play and it reads it to me, which is fantastic. And being able to dictate the text back without taking my eyes off the road is a good thing. So, yeah, there's some kinks in it. There's some problems. I've had some times that I plugged it in and it hasn't worked for my little drive that I'm on, and I can't get it to work until the next time I shut the car off and start it again and go for the rest of the drive. But yeah, it's not all there, but I have found use to for what I have. I've used it a number of times and it's been useful.
I think this goes back to that annual subscription thing. If you're going to charge me $80 a year for it, it damn well better work nearly perfectly and add significant value to my driving experience. And be updated on a regular basis and that sort of thing.
Well, the bonus of CarPlay is that Apple is updating it, so you can get updates as they roll out the rest of their other OS systems. So updates have happened with CarPlay already.
Yeah, that's a good thing. That's a good thing. Okay, well, I'm done beating up on Apple and BMW. Let's talk about another Nissan story, but something I'm really excited about. Mark?
Yes, the little van that Nissan puts out, the little electric van, in Europe, they have upgraded to the now 40 kilowatt battery pack. And the order books are now open again in Europe that you can order this vehicle with the larger battery pack, which is a good step forward. There was speculation as to whether or not it would happen. But obviously Nissan is moving forward with it. I guess now the speculation will they put the 60 kilowatt pack in there? And I would think that that's probably a yes, based on if it's the same, physical size or close to it, they'll be able to fit it in. But this little van now is available in Europe. It's called the ENV200, which is a really weird name. Like, why did they come up with that name and they call the other car the Leaf? I don't get it. I don't know where the naming convention came from, but
they have an NV2000 van gas version.
Okay,
that's
right.
But it's a stupid name, like NV Nissan van 200.
No,
it's
Mark,
got 200 cubic feet of storage,
got me.
They could have called it something like Van Gogh or.
Can I tell you, I really want one of these things really bad.
Why is that?
I don't know.
He's getting the bands back together.
I always loved this vehicle, and it made me sad that Nissan wouldn't sell it here because I have this weird thing. I love the Ford Transit Connect, but I could never buy one because the mileage is abysmal. You get like 20 miles to the gallon in this stupid little thing. But I love the vehicle because it's so cool. It's so weird. And you could do so many cool things with it. Paul, maybe you understand a little bit.
Yeah, well, you could go to IKEA, load it up.
I could go to IKEA, but I mean, like,
you can make a little camper out of it, or
yeah, it's like a little Vanagon kind of thing.
Wait, you can smuggle solar panels in it.
150 miles at a time. Yes.
It's got to get from Windsor to Detroit.
Well, hey, whatever, as long as I get across the border, I'm good. You're not bringing drugs. No, just solar panels.
Just solar panels, officer. Nothing to worry about here.
Nothing but photovoltaic in here, buddy. Nissan, please sell this in the U.S., okay?
Yeah, that's the thing. Will they bring it to North America? It hasn't happened. I don't know if it will happen, but it's a good sign at least that they're rolling out the larger battery pack in Europe, and we can hope that it will come.
I heard some rumor that they're thinking about bringing it to North America. I mean, it would make sense for a lot of small business delivery vehicle. And,
any city.
Dare I suggest, the whole Uber Lyft thing?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, oh, okay, you can pick up 5 people now.
Yeah. You get the sliding door, which is a help.
Well, you can pick up 5 people and all their luggage as they go to the airport.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a cool little vehicle. And
so you take this vehicle and you add the 60 kilowatt pack, and I think you've got a real winner.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think 170 miles of range is bad.
No, it's well, that's the European system too. It's not it's not the EPA.
Yeah, EPA, they say 120 miles.
Oh, do they? Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. Ouch.
So it's certainly a little bit worse than the Leaf because, of course, the aerodynamics are different.
It's probably heavier.
The van's a little bit bigger. Yeah, a little heavier. But you put a 60 kilowatt in that, and I think you got a real winner.
Yep.
So here's hoping it comes. But right now, at least it's good to see that it's being released in Europe, and you can buy them now.
Now, Eric Stevens says that they do sell the gas version of the NV200 in North America. So he's optimistic.
Yeah.
You do. You see a lot of them as cabs.
Yeah. But if we don't get it, Eric, we're coming after you, pal.
Well, that's encouraging though, because to sell the gas version, they have to meet the crash tests and all that stuff. Yeah. So it's halfway there.
Well, finally for me this week is a story that I don't know how to. So a gentleman named Ben Sullins took his one-day-old Tesla Model 3, God knows why, took CarMax to get an appraisal to see how much CarMax would give him for his one-day-old Tesla. Now, I'm sure Ben's a decent human being, probably, has a family or at least part of a family that loves him. I just don't know what it is. Like, what is it that drives you to CarMax, to spend time at CarMax getting your brand new car appraised? Like, what did he really think they were going to give him $100,000 for it? And as it turns out, they gave him what was it? They offered him $35,000 for the car, but oh no, excuse me. They offered him $42,000 for the car, but he paid $44,000. So guess who didn't sell his car to CarMax that day? Is it interesting that CarMax offered him $42,000 for a $44,000 car? Not really. They probably figured they could flip it for another 10%. You know what I mean? And they'd have it. They could put it on their website that they had a Tesla. Yay, we sold a Tesla. You know what I mean? I'm. This is sort of like the selling my Tesla on eBay, knowing I'm going to make some money. I just hate that.
Well, Ben is a YouTube guy. He runs a channel, and this helps him with views, and it's just an interest piece that he was able to put out.
Yeah, there's other videos I've seen on YouTube, like a guy will take a Ferrari into CarMax and see what they offer him and stuff. So I think they're just messing with CarMax. Trying to get clicks.
Is that much fun?
I guess. You got nothing else to do.
With the CarMax guy, like, come on, man.
Well, we're going to CarMax next week, aren't we, Russell?
I'm driving a Genesis G90 Ultimate right now. I should just take that to CarMax.
That should be part of your weekly review. Is how much CarMax would give me for the car.
Oh my God!
I love that. Actually, this week CarMax offered me $25,000 for this $70,000 luxury sedan.
Yeah. And since I'm going to Canada to pick up some solar panels, I sold it.
Problem with that strategy is I only get away with that once.
That's right. Once. That's it.
Then I'm done.
Better make it a good haul.
Well, I got the 70K Genesis right now, so maybe that's not such a bad idea.
There's a Hyundai that costs $70,000.
72.8, my friend.
Wow.
72.8. It is a rear-wheel drive V8. And I want to tell you, there might be a new set of tires on that car next week. You know what? I will say this. It's a damn nice car. It is an amazingly nice car. I mean, like, in the rear seats are super spacious. Each one has their own LCD viewing screen. All the HVAC controls are in the back too, separate system. I mean, if you're going to put like 4 people and drive to New York, this is the car you want to do it in. It's amazing. I've only had it for one day. I don't know yet. But I'm going to tell you, my MPG for the first day, 11.6.
Oh my God!
It's only 19 or 16 combined EPA. So I mean, I'm not that far off. It's a V8. It's a rear-wheel drive V8, and this thing is a tank. But you could run over multiple people and not even know it. It's
disclaimer, not saying he has.
Not saying I have, not saying. Thank you, Mark. I appreciate you having my back. Mark,
I do not have one more. Oh, okay. I do have one more thing. It turns out that I've been invited to go do a test drive for Paul's favorite vehicle, the Mitsubishi Outlander plug-in.
What? It exists?
It exists, and they have at least one, and they will be coming to Toronto, and they're going to be running a show and tell with the vehicle. So I will take some actual pictures, Paul, and bring them back. So we've got
the mythical Outlander.
Unicorn Mitsubishi is actually there.
Wow.
It will not be mythical any longer. It will be very real.
Actually, it won't be next week's show. It'll be the week after. It's February 6th is the test drive.
Isn't that Groundhog Day? Like if the shadow is.
So we'll see if the Mitsubishi digs a hole and hides for the rest of the winter. Yes.
Or sorry, Groundhog Day is the 2nd, not the 6th. Okay,
sir. Well, that's all I got. Let's do some shout-outs and go home. Evan, what are you watching?
I am looking at the chat room, and I was going to give my shout outs to those who joined us tonight. JT24, Lee Moon, a frequent visitor, Eric Stevens for multiple positive contributions tonight, Phil Barclay, another regular, and let's see, and then we had a late arrival, Zachary Pernicolis.
Zachary is the man that sends the Tesla Life some pictures from Chicago about
awesome.
The superchargers and the new store on Michigan Avenue. Thank you, Zachary, for watching.
And I'm sorry for butchering your last name.
Yeah, and someday tell us how to say your last name so we don't wreck it and be mean, because that's not who we are. Well, thank you, Evan, for doing that. I appreciate that. And I would say, I know you don't want to plug anything, but I'll ask because it's polite to do that. Anything you want to plug this week?
No.
No. That's fine. I don't want to bring up any childhood traumas or anything. I get that. Mr. Guzik.
Yeah, I guess for those who don't know, there's a great hybrid repair shop in Boulder, Colorado called Boulder Hybrids, and their website is boulderhc.com, and they fix hybrids and EVs and do all kinds of fun stuff. So check them out.
boulderhc.com. If you're Is it the Western Range?
Front Range.
The front. If you're in the Front Range,
The other side of Colorado is called the Western Slope.
the Western Slope. If you're on the Front Range, Paul is the man to see. Except no substitutes. Okay?
Hell, if you're on the Western Slope, drive to the Front Range.
Exactly.
Yeah, there you go.
Some people do.
It's all downhill.
Well, once you get over the mountain,
Once you get over
Yeah.
the top, yeah, it's all downhill. You just glide. It's no big deal.
lots of regen.
Lots of regen. Well, as always, I want to thank Michael Mannering for our theme music. Visit him at manthing.com. Shout out to Lee Moon. Thanks, Lee, and everybody in the chat room. Always love seeing you guys there. Huge thanks to my beer swilling. Oh, at least that's just Evan. To my good friends on the panel, Paul, Evan, and Mark. Thank you so much for being here. Here comes the social media, and it's all the same. So all you have to remember is what drives us. Facebook.com/what drives us. We're easy to find. Twitter @what drives us. And of course, YouTube, super important. YouTube.com/what drives us. Please go to YouTube if you have not already. Subscribe there. Share it on your Facebook page with your friends. Tell them how cool it is. We're getting there. We need to get a few more. So youtube.com/what drives us. Super important. We appreciate your support so much. Thank you very much. That's all I got, kids. Nothing else.
Wrap her up.
Thanks, guys. Hey, tune in next week and find out what drives us. That's it. Good night. All of a sudden, I'm an adolescent boy. Wow. Thanks, everybody. See you next week.